let's talk about launch anxiety. It's something that I have so much experience with. I have launched hundreds. I mean, I've lost count, but at least hundreds of courses, group programs, one-on-one services, events, where it's like if no one signs up, it's embarrassing, especially group programs, right? Like if no one, if it's one-on-one, like no one signs up, okay, all right, maybe one person signs up, that's amazing. All right, let's keep going with a one-on-one client. But when a group program, especially, or group experience, if no one is signing up, it's super embarrassing for me and probably for my audience if they found out, obviously. Oh my God, no one signed up for your thing. That's so, and colleagues, like we lose face and all that stuff. All these reasons could be, like I said, I've been there 500 times. Okay. So this is why I created this system for myself, and I teach this in various courses, Authentic Outreach and my course launch course, the system of tracking sales during the launch at various milestones. So for example, I have a spreadsheet. Again, I'm not going to teach it right now. This is a more of a general conversation about launch anxiety. Go into Authentic Outreach and others if you want to get the spreadsheet template and walk through it very specifically. But essentially, imagine, it doesn't have to be a spreadsheet, by the way. It could just be your own document, but the spreadsheet's nice because it easily do averages. But I basically have one where it's like for each launch is a separate row in the spreadsheet. And the columns are basically tracking, okay, one day after my first social media post, 24 hours after, how many sales? 0, 1, half a sale, because I got like someone that I'm really interested and I just have to get back to you on that or something. And then different milestones. It's really up to you, because essentially, eventually, hopefully your launches there's a system to it. It's not just, oh my God, I got to launch this thing. Oh, what do I do? Should I send an email? Should I post on social media? How many times? No, it's like, okay, my launches are always 2 social media posts and 2 emails. That's it. I mean, I'm literally saying that. That's what I do for my launches. Some of my launches are even just 1 email, 1 social media post. But anyway, doesn't matter. Usually 2 emails, 2 social media posts. And then I do some individual outreach as well. But it's very interesting to me now that it's a scientific system. It's like a process where I can literally tell you what it's probably going to be. If I got 0 sales 24 hours, okay, so if I get 1 sale or 3 sales, I can tell you within a really reasonable range how many sales I will have by the end, because I have row after row after row of statistics. It's statistics. But if you don't have those, it's very scary, because I was tracking, I'll just tell you a story. I was tracking. I've been tracking this for 2-3 years. I wish I started earlier. I didn't know this. At least 3 years. And even earlier, I was tracking kind of intuitively. I should have done a spreadsheet from the very first day, but I track it at least 3 years now. So I have dozens of rows, right? So the averages are surprisingly accurate if you track them. Okay, because our audience does grow over time, but so does probably, hopefully, our price or whatever, or our experimentations grow over time. So it's like, for example, 24 hours after posting, right? That's 1 milestone. And then 24 hours after emailing. So I don't do it on the same day usually. We'll talk about that in some other call. But okay. And then 24 hours after the second post, right? And then 24 hours after the second email. And then finally, at the start of the course or program or group experience, how many do I have that at that point? And I even have another column, which I don't track as well, but it's like 3 days after the group started, because sometimes there are stragglers and go, oh, someone say, oh gosh, is this too late to sign up, right? So it's like having those milestones tracked gives me peace. And I was going to say, like, I usually, 24 hours after the first post, I usually got like 1, 2, 3, sometimes 5 or 7 sales, right? And those numbers match up accordingly at the end, like, oh, wow. The one that got 5 sales 24 hours after the first post ended up being 100 signups at the start of the course. The one that got 1 sale, like at one point I was tracking, I'm like, oh my God, there's only got 1 sale after the first thing, right? At the end, the course start, 40 sales. I couldn't have predicted that. One in the beginning, 40 at the end of the 2-week launch. It's not a long launch, it's 2 weeks. People need 2 weeks, right? To decide to sign up, right? And then at one point I got 0 sales 24 hours after the first launch, first post. 0 sales 24. I've never gotten that before. I was going to quit. I was going to, die a quiet death. I was so embarrassed, right? Naturally, that's how I felt. That's how you're going to feel too, probably. 0 sales. And then I was like, oh my God. But just for experimentation purposes, so I can have something to say to others, to say, well, I was there. I kept going with the launch. And by the end, 27. 27. Not 40. Like the one sale got me 40. 0 got me 27 at the end when the thing started. 27. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could not have predicted it. And then I had another experience. Eventually, the more you track it, the more experiences you're going to have. The more I had 0 sales after the first email. I was like, oh crap. I have not experienced that one before. Okay. 24 hours after the first email. 24 hours after the first post, nothing. A few days later, the first email, nothing. I'm like, well, experimentation time. Let's track to see what happens at the end. At the end, I think there were like 10 or 12 or something. I'm like, okay, now I know, right? Now I know, right? So you won't know until you track it, all the way until the end. You won't know, because you won't know whether or not your people sign up the day before, or ironically, a few sign up the day before, more sign up the day of, and even a few sign up the day after. Like, how will you ever know? You won't ever know. And so launch anxiety is dispelled with reality. Reality. Because but what's anxiety? Anxiety, well, I'm not an expert in anxiety, but what I know about launch anxiety is it's tied to what your expectations are. And your expectations probably came from some marketing expert who made their program sound so easy. Like, oh, join my $1,000 program. You'll get amazing sales guaranteed in 90 days or whatever. It's like, and even if you never joined those programs, all that marketing has created this assumption that creates anxiety, because everyone looks like they're doing great, but it's all marketing. You like have no idea what their stats are. Like, I have seen amazing launch after amazing launch, and then I talk to my friend, how did your amazing launch go? They're like, I got 3 sales. You would never know. It's only those of us who track it and have inside knowledge that go, oh yeah, you cannot. And I've also done very lame launches where I simply put a text only Facebook post up, and not just me, I've talked to my friends. I'll just give you, it's like you put simple text only Facebook post, no images. It's relatively off the cuff. It's super well. I was like, oh my God, that many sales? And then my friend too, my friend's like, recently, the most recent example, he just put up a text only post about his mentoring group, tens of thousands of dollars sales. He was like a really casual off the cuff. Now, by that point, of course, that person has a lot of credibility, program, etc. But that person also launched really hardcore things with graphics and with a team, and was not as much, revenue as his mentoring program. Like, you just can't tell until every single launch. And so I actually don't have one spreadsheet. I have several spreadsheets for this stuff, because every type of program has its own metrics. A 7-day challenge will have its own metrics. A course that's 6 weeks long have its own metrics. A course that's 2 weeks long versus a 1-year group program. Those all have different metrics for what happens at each milestone. So hopefully this little pep talk gives you some reality and some I'm with you solidarity that I don't know either. I don't know. I will have to look at your spreadsheet, and then we'll look at it together and go, okay, so given your stats, given your audience, your niche, your industry, your presence, your social media audience, whatever, it's like all those factors are going to give you a different metrics than me. But we have to look at your metrics to know what's going to happen or not. So I hope this is helpful.